Bishop.
And I'm Dr. Steph.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of Our Life, Our Journey,
Our Truth.
And we're so excited to have you connected on today. Every single week you come together in this place with us. It blesses us.
Yeah,
and we're so excited to have you
sure.
connected. And of course, we thank you so much for just to being a part, commenting, and make sure you like, comment, and
share and subscribe.
Please do that, y'all, because that means a lot to us if you would do that. And we're just so grateful. I mean, it's just been just a blessing to hear so many of your comments. And we just, vibe off of that. We want to make sure you stay connected to us. Make sure you follow this one, Dr. Steph Walker on Instagram. Follow me at Joseph Walker 3 and go to our website, josephwalker3.org. We got some cool merch out there. I'm telling you, you don't want to let that pass you by, and also get our books and other things. And hey, we've been getting around the country a little, speaking to groups and marriage conferences and just empowering
it's
people.
A lot of fun, yeah.
Hey, whatever, however we could be of a blessing to you, let us know. We'll definitely make it happen. We appreciate all of you so much. And today is a powerful topic, because I think reinventing yourself is so important, particularly when you're a little later on in life, right? I think
late 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s even. Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of this happening, but we've also been getting a lot of questions around this as well.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know the Martha Stewart story. You talk about that a lot, and talk about, what age she was when she did what she did. People think Martha Stewart started when she was like in her 20s and 30s, but Martha Stewart, was she like in her 50s, 60s?
I believe her story is that she was a divorcee and was trying to figure out her next. And, the Martha Stewart that you know today, well, that didn't start till she was almost 50 years old, or a little after 50. So this empire that she's grown over the last, 20 to 25 years.
Yeah.
And so she's 70 plus, or 70 years old at least. And this is what she did in her latter years, like this entire Martha Stewart empire as you know it today. And so, but there's so many people who started later in life, like whether they are, actors or actresses, or, movie producers, or, book authors, or what have you. Everyone makes the assumption that people, come out the womb knowing what they want to do in life, and they, make a beeline straight for their goals, and the one that gets there the fastest wins. And that's not necessarily the case. Frequently, it does take some life living experiences for you to figure out what you really want to do, what your true passion is. And let's say you go one direction earlier in life and you just think, this isn't really what I necessarily want to do, or I loved it for a season, and now you want to pivot. That is okay. There are numerous thousands, if not millions, of examples of people who have been successful by doing just that.
And it takes a level of courage to do that.
I say that all the time.
Yeah.
I think it takes more courage to switch roles or to pivot your careers than it does to stay in the role that you're in, because it's easier to stay in your comfort zone. Versus pivot and do something that's outside of the box, or go against the grain, or even pave your own path.
One of the things I teach and I talk to people about all the time is, God gives us purpose. Purpose is never one-dimensional. And I think oftentimes we think it's just this one thing I'm put on the planet to do, but you begin to realize that there's a variety of other things that are in you.
Oh, that's good.
You know what I mean? I'm a pastor. I preach the gospel, yes, but I also write books. I'm an author. I'm also a commencement speaker. I'm also, a leader. So you have all these different things that you discover.
Over
Paul
time,
tells Timothy to stir up the gift, right? When you stir it up, you start realizing some of the stuff that comes to the surface.
Yeah. And sometimes it takes another level of maturity or life experience to get to the point where you feel comfortable sort of utilizing those gifts.
Yeah.
Or sometimes you have to be pushed into a circumstance, hear me out, where, let's say if you're living your life and everything is super comfortable, sometimes God has to make that situation that you're so comfortable in uncomfortable for you to step out and do what you're truly meant to be.
That's so true. That's Deuteronomy 32. Eagle stirs.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
It makes what was historically uncomfortable, forcing the eaglets to either fly or die. Sometimes God will push you out of that place of comfort to say, either you're going to fly you ain't gonna make it, because in order for you to survive, you got to fend for yourself. And
Yeah.
that's a wonderful illustration how God dealt with Israel, how God deals with us. And I think it's important to
Yeah.
have the courage and the faith to step outside of the comfortable place and to trust God in that space you've never gone in before, and to know that
Yeah.
God has placed something inside of you so extraordinary, so amazing, that when you tap into it, you begin to realize, man, this is really awesome. Like, and I think you don't underestimate how God has prepared you for it.
Mhm.
Your
Mhm.
experiences have prepared you for this moment.
Yeah.
And all the
Like you
things
were
you,
built for this. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
people think, well, I'm not ready, I don't know, whatever. But now you start looking at, man, God took me through this, took me through that for
Mhm.
this, to set me up.
Mhm.
And I think once you step out and do it, you begin to realize this is a sweet spot for me.
And then you're able to look back on your journey and connect the dots in terms of why you went through the various things that you went through
Yeah.
in order to gain those skill sets and gather them all up, stick them in your toolbox so that you can be successful at the next level.
Yeah, yeah. It's an extraordinary story of a dear friend of mine who uh, did well in business, went up this ladder, got all kind of awards, and then got to a point where he realized, you know what, there's something bigger I want to do.
Mhm.
And at 50 years old, he applied, got into Harvard Business School at
Mhm.
50 years old, and
Mhm.
finished at 53, and by 53 and a half, he was in Oxford. Went
Mhm.
to Oxford, and by 55, he had a master's from Harvard Business School, a degree from Oxford, and went into a whole different world of
Realm
doing
of
stuff, and
business.
now
Yeah.
just killing it. Like,
Yeah.
this is, you got to be willing to take that chance. I
Yeah.
interpret Hebrews 11:1 like this. Now, risk is the substance of things hoped for, and the evidence of
The
things
things
not
not
seen,
seen.
right? It's a
Yeah.
calculated risk, the ability to
Mhm.
bet on yourself,
Yeah. Yeah.
to
I
bet on
love that.
yourself and not
Yeah.
allow culture to tell you,
Yeah.
you know, it's too late, you should have gotten this by
Yeah,
now.
you're too old. What are you thinking? Shouldn't you have done this already?
Yeah,
They don't want you. Why? You're wasting your time. Yeah, yeah. We've heard it all. I've heard it all.
yeah,
He's heard it all. Maybe not all of it, but a lot of it, you know? And I would just say if there's an inkling in your spirit, like I'm a firm believer that these desires that I have in me, that you have in
yeah,
you, were placed there
by God.
by
Yeah,
God. These are not accidents. And sometimes it's a seed planted from when you were younger or a seed planted on another journey that you were on. But it starts to keep coming up and God's timing is perfect, right? And so he's not going to start to water that or allow you to water that unless it's preparatory season for you to start paying
that's
attention
good.
to that.
That's so
Because frequently it'll be something you're like, I've always wanted to do that, but why am I feeling that thing now?
yeah,
Because it's time. But God is a God of order. Like when God says it's time, it doesn't always mean jump now,
that's right.
drop everything and run and jump.
Yeah, yeah.
No, 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 no. You're supposed to prepare. You're supposed to create a plan. You're
Plan,
supposed to write it down. You're
plan.
supposed to make it plain. You're supposed to strategize, and then you're supposed to execute. You're not supposed to just jump out the window without a sail or without a parachute. Mm-mm. And there's also studies that have shown when you look at young entrepreneurs who are sort of moving into that entrepreneurial space, those that are most successful are the ones that keep their old jobs and build their new sort of endeavor while they're still working. Why? Because that's the thing that finances your new endeavor,
That's so true.
right?
That's so true.
Most people fail. For one, for lack of execution, being fearful and not jumping or not taking that leap of faith, rather. But they also fail because they run out of finances that will support that dream. And they have to then start jumping back into the rat race just to eat, just to pay rent or what have you. So you keep the job that you have as you're building, as you're executing, as you're planning for that next phase in your life.
And that planning is so important, man. I've had to mentor so many people about that because you're
Mm-hmm.
so anxious. I know you're
Yeah.
aspirational, and you know you
Which
started.
is good.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah,
okay.
yeah. But you start inserting this in the God language, and the God's telling me now's the time. I'm
There's
like,
a
hold
right
on.
and a wrong way to
God
do
is a
it.
God of
Yeah.
order,
Yeah.
right, and not confusion. And so I think that if you do have that plan and you write it down, you begin. That plan gives you a roadmap.
Mm-hmm.
It's a roadmap to how you're going to
Mm-hmm.
get there. And you don't want to be out here just aiming at something and
Yeah.
without a roadmap, without
Yeah.
directions on how you're going to get there. So I think that's incredibly important. Believe in yourself, get a roadmap, develop a plan. And I think also it's important, no matter what age you are, to have the right mentors, to find
Yes.
people who have done it well. You're not the first person who's doing this. You're not reinventing the wheel. You're just finding people that can help guide you. And because you may realize that how you understood an industry when you were in your 20s may be completely differently than in your 40s or 50s.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but you bring a
Mm-hmm.
level of wisdom, you bring a level of expertise. You should bring
Mm-hmm.
capital in
Mm-hmm.
your 40s and 50s you didn't have in your 20s. And so now you're
Mm-hmm.
able to do more and surround yourself with the right resources and people to make it
Yeah,
happen.
yeah. And I know we've been talking a lot about starting businesses
Yeah,
or what have
yeah,
you, but let's say you want to go back to professional school, sort of medical school, law school, business school, whatever.
yeah.
Like I would argue that in today's world, whereas back in the day when I was going to medical school, someone who went to school later was called a non-traditional student.
Yeah.
And they were very well accepted, but they were not common, right? I would argue that today, the non-traditional student is actually the preferred student. The young people or the individuals who are
Right.
older
That's good.
who have gone out and experienced life and now have decided with life experience that this is what they were meant to do
Right.
and what they truly want to pursue, as opposed to pursuing medicine or law sort of out of obligation or because their parents did it or because their parents are making them or because they don't know what else to do with themselves, right? They have made the cognitive choice and decision to do this based on their life experience and path that has led them down this road. So if that's you, go for it. Some people I've had, actually, we mentor a lot of young people, and we had a dinner here at the house, and there are quite a few students who were seeking to go to the next level or what have you, but they were worried because they were older. And my thing was exactly what I just said to you. And at the end of the day, these schools, these institutions are looking for you. You help diversify their class.
So true.
You bring wisdom. You bring
So true.
life experience.
So true.
And that is a very rich learning environment for everyone in that institution. And so I say go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it. Go for it. Yeah.
One of those powerful scriptures in the Bible, I think it's Psalm 92, and I'm hoping I'm correct in that, but you shall still bring forth fruit in your old age.
Oh, yeah.
Gosh, you shall still bring forth fruit.
Still bring forth fruit.
Still. And just think about that. Like, the older you get, the better you should get.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as a child of God's Spirit, you should, and you look at people who, one of my favorite athletes is LeBron James.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen people, write LeBron off like, oh, he's 39 years old, but he's doing stuff that
He's
20
still performing.
that 20-year-olds aren't
Yeah.
doing,
Yeah.
but he's also reinventing himself now in real time. We're able to see a lot of people reinvent themselves later on in life, what Jay-Z did, reinventing himself as an entrepreneur, as a business person.
Yeah.
And, that you do certain things. I think God gives us these seasons to do what we do. And some people will be on a job for 20, 30 years and they'll do extraordinarily well. Great. Some people will be on the job and have a side gig. Some people will go back to school. Whatever the case is, believe you can do it.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to tell you.
I
Like,
agree.
believe you can do it, and God has prepared you for it. I think there's an intuition in all of us that itch that comes that says, it's time to do something different. And you're looking at that like, man, I just don't know. I'm just comfortable. But you got to trust that process.
Yeah.
You can't doubt it.
And all these things that we're talking about, we've been through. I've heard it. When I, took a pause from neonatology, intensive care, being an intensive care doctor for babies, and wanted to go to public health school, to go to Harvard, I heard, aren't you too old? Shouldn't you have done this already? Do you even think that you're that competitive, et cetera, et cetera? You can't do this. You shouldn't do it. That's foolish. What are you doing pausing your medical career? But it was it was transformative. It was life-changing. It was one of the best decisions that I've ever made, right? And, even, becoming an author, writing a book, transitioning from clinical medicine to working out in the community. Neonatal intensive care doctors, we don't do that, right? And I received so much pushback from the community, but I also was embraced by so many people who wanted to do it and had a heart to do it, but were afraid to do it. People were cheering me on. And then, at 40 years old, starting a business, and so been there, done that. wrote a book about it, probably will write another book. But at the end of the day, no regrets. I was just able to just truly follow my passions and follow those seeds that God has been planting over time in my life. And it's not that it wasn't scary. It's not that I didn't do it while I was still fearful.
Right.
I did it with faith, with support, but also knowing that God put this in me, and I did not want to live with regrets. I did not want to live saying woulda, coulda, did it, coulda, woulda, coulda, shoulda, but didn't. You know what I mean? And I can say that these latter years have been truly some of my most fruitful years of my life. And I'm still going and still changing and still transforming and still pivoting. Stay tuned to see what's next.
Y'all better hear that, and she means that too.
Yeah.
This girl is still like,
Yeah,
I mean, and we both. And this is
Yeah.
just, man, I'm telling you, we're just so geeked, we're excited. We feel like God's given us this great season to continue to push
Yeah,
out
new
every single thing. 'Cause
season,
I'm telling
yeah.
you, you need to make sure you live full and die empty. Make sure that everything God placed inside of you,
You are
push
pouring it out.
Yeah, man, get it out so
Yes.
that when it's time for you to go to heaven, you're like, I left everything out that God you told me to do. And I think that's the important part, because you mentioned something earlier, and I'll kind of close with this. You don't want to grow old and bitter,
Yeah.
resentful. I should have did this,
Shoulda, woulda,
could have
coulda.
did that.
Yeah.
You know, man, I had time, but I let life just consume me, and I never
Yeah.
explored my dreams. This is about you knowing there is something amazing on your life. Whatever age you are watching this today, get up, put that plan together, pray over it. Know that you've been prepared for this, and ask God to bless it. And then come to a place where you say, God, I'm not going to step out until you tell me to do it. I'll stay on my job as long as I have to. If I got to go back to school, I'll trust you to provide. I'm just going to do what you told me to do, walk how you told me to walk, and I'm going to receive what you told me I could receive.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about for us. And we want to see you win, guys.
Win, win, win.
Let's get it. So thank y'all so much for tuning in today. I hope this has blessed you. And I think we're going to have some achievers out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let us know. Keep us posted. We want to hear about it.
Tell us your story if you can't wait. All right. So I'm Bishop.
And I'm Dr. Steph.
Thank you for tuning in. Peace.